What's going on, everybody? John Eric Polai here with My MMA News, and today's guest is coming off a unanimous decision win over Dennis Buzukja at UFC Nashville. Always great catching up with Sean Woodson. Sean, nice to see you, man. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate the time as always.
Oh, no problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, no problem at all. And for you, right? Not only is this great that you got the win, but I'm sure probably emotions got to be really high because you were out from fighting for almost a year up to this point when you got this win. Just talk about what the emotions are like coming back after a year layoff and getting a fantastic win like this.
Elated, man. I'm super happy. I was itching to get back in there for a long time. And, I know UFC have a lot of guys on the roster, so that, they had some other guys they had to get to before me. And I was just patiently waiting my turn and getting better and sharpening my skills. And yeah, it felt great to get back in there to put on a dominant performance against a quality opponent.
And I know Dennis is a very good up-and-coming prospect. This was his UFC debut, but I mean, he's kind of been knocking on the doorstep of getting in for a while, but he wasn't your original opponent. As a matter of fact, you had so many different opponent changes. I'm going to let you go ahead and explain all of that. What was that just like for you when it's like, okay, I'm fighting so-and-so, oh, no, now I'm fighting this guy, and I'm fighting this guy. You said you had, what, 3 or 4 opponent changes, right?
Four. Yeah, it was
Wow.
crazy. One of the craziest fight camps, most unique fight camps of my life. I don't know if anybody else in the UFC has had 4 opponents for one card, But first I was slotted to fight Steve Garcia, who's a brawler who heavy pressure comes forward a lot. And then about 3 weeks out, he had pulled out because of a back injury, and they switched to Jesse Butler, who he likes to stand, but he's mainly a grappler, and just a totally different style from Garcia. But, nonetheless, I had about 3 weeks to prepare for him. So I shifted and started game planning and preparing for him. Then about a week and a half out, I'd say, he had to pull out because of he wasn't cleared to fight. And, they had switched things up and UFC was unaware of it. So, yeah, he wasn't able to fight me. So then about a week and a half before the fight, we switched to Marion Santos, who was a hot prospect out of Brazil, 13-1, super young kid. And I was slated to fight him with about a week and a half. And then fight week, I get to Nashville and I get to the hotel, and I'm in the hotel lobby checking into my room. And then my manager hits my phone and says Santos was out. He had some visa issues, or he had some commission issues too. So yeah, fight week, it was Tuesday, and yeah, he was out. But then shortly after that, about a couple hours later, we had Dennis Buzukja, and I had already put in the work. I was in shape. I was, I was there to fight. So it didn't matter who they were going to find. I was going to accept no matter what. And I didn't really have time to really game plan for him. I already knew of him. Like you said, he was a hot prospect. So I was already familiar with him. I just watched some tape on him those next couple of days to refresh my memory on him. And yeah, I was ready to rock.
And obviously, so many moving parts with the opponent changes. Was there ever a moment, even especially at the one when you're in the hotel on fight week, that you were ever like, I might not be fighting this weekend now?
A very brief moment, but then I thought, this is the UFC. There's tons of guys out there that would do anything to, get that call up and get a contract with them. So at first it was a worry, but not long at all. I was pretty confident right away that I knew they would find somebody, to step up and, want to make their dreams come true and fight in the UFC.
And for you, just mentally, how tough is it when you have to keep changing opponents and trying to game plan on the fly like that?
Yeah, dude. That's tough. That's an obstacle in itself. A lot of times in these situations, there's a lot of light shed on the guy who's stepping up on short notice. And kudos to him. Like that is, that's a ballsy move and that's hard in its own right. But it's also hard for me when I've had 6-7 weeks preparing for one guy, then the shift, and I'm preparing for another guy, and then another guy, and then and I'm huge on my preparation. That's where I gain a lot of my confidence in is I cut no corners and I, watch film on my opponents diligently. And, my preparation is what gives me my confidence. So fighting a tough world-class opponent like Dennis on short notice, that was a mental hurdle that I had to overcome. But I feel like I leveled up a ton from it and gained a lot of confidence from it. And yeah, it was tough, but I stayed focused, and I've been in that position before. A couple years back, the same thing happened to me where I went through like 2 or 3 opponents on fight week. So I feel like that prepared me for this moment and let me be able to handle it the way I did. But yeah, I was focused, locked in, dialed in, and I wasn't going to let nothing throw me off my game.
All right, so now let's get into this action here from UFC Nashville. Start breaking down the win here a little bit. One of the big stories of this fight on your route to victory here was the calf kicks, successful all throughout, every single round you were able to land them. Was that the game plan coming into this fight to be able to land those?
Not really. I mean, I like to go to the calf kick, just off tops, just no matter who it is. But yeah, I didn't really game plan for that, so to say. Just I remember right when we touched gloves, about 10 seconds into the fight, I landed a good one, and I'm like, oh, that felt good. And I'm like, I went back to it again, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's going to be there all night. And yeah, I know, shin pads is a whole nother story. You can take a handful of them, 10, 15 of them, but no shin pads on, you can only take about 3, 4 solid calf kicks till it starts to affect you. And yeah, so yeah, I remember landing those on early and being like, okay, this is something I'm going to go back to all throughout the fight.
And those calf kicks, obviously very dangerous weapon, and a lot of fighters too, when they eat them, they might get through the 15 minutes, but walking afterwards is a little difficult for a few weeks after taking those. But
dude, those are brutal.
Absolutely, they are brutal. But one thing too, a big takeaway from this fight, obviously you're very well known for your stand-up, the great boxing ability there. But we saw in the second and third rounds a lot of grappling, some takedowns, going through some submission attempts there. Just talk about the evolution of that part of your game. And obviously it looks like you're getting pretty comfortable there, that you were, putting that into the mix there.
Yeah, man, I'm super confident in my grappling. I've said that all along. I've said when I get in moments where I'm forced to grapple that people will see it. Woolsden, which is the gym I've been at for the last 7, 8 years, they're predominantly a jiu-jitsu gym. I've been striking all my life, but Woolsden is predominantly a jiu-jitsu gym, and we've been working on my ground game diligently for years because we know that, that's where guys are going to be looking to take me when we get in there. That's in other guys' minds, that's my weakness. So, yeah, me and my coach, Andrew Evers, also known as Mop, he's a black belt, and he's been, dedicating time into me for years on making me well-rounded and sharpening my grappling. And yeah, from the first clinch, the first time me and Dennis locked up, I felt right away. I'm like, oh, this guy ain't gonna got nothing for me grappling. Not trying to be disrespectful, but it just is what it is. I just felt from the moment we locked up that I was gonna be superior in the grappling, and that I would just have a lot of success there. I didn't game plan that beforehand. Again, it was just something that I just adapted to on the fly. And yeah, I'm glad that I finally got to show it, that I'm, well-rounded and stuff. I still prefer the striking. I watched back the fight and I kind of wish I would have grappled a little less, but all in all, though, I'm still happy with the performance and glad I had success grappling.
And I want to ask you just about like having that boxing background too. Obviously, whenever you come into a fight, you always have the advantage on the feet with the strikes, but there might be people out there watching at home that maybe don't realize, right? Boxing is a little bit different in the striking department than in the MMA department. Like we open talking about calf kicks. So when you're boxing, obviously, you're going to be heavier on your lead leg. If you do that in MMA, leaves you open for those calf kicks all night long, which you don't want to be eating. So you do have to make a slight little adjustments as far as like footwork and balance and everything. So just talk about that and how that was for you, just, making that little bit of a transition when you first came into mixed martial arts.
Oh, yeah, man, 100%. You're spot on with that. Yeah, I had to adjust to that very early on. You can't approach an MMA fight in a pure boxing stance, or, as just a pure boxer, because, yeah, you're going to get your leg chewed up. And even the defense is a lot different. Those little gloves can sneak in holes and spots that, traditionally in boxing, you'd be covered and you'd be protected. So, yeah, over time, I've definitely had to change my striking to fit more for MMA. At first I didn't really like it because I'm like, man, it almost feel like my striking was getting worse, but it's not. It's well adapted for MMA now.
And now, all right, so you're here, obviously looking fantastic, getting the big win, all's, great in the world for you right now. What's next? Obviously, I'm sure you want to be active, make up for some lost time there. What's kind of the roadmap you kind of have laid out here?
Yeah, that's the plan, man. Right away, right after that, me and my manager were talking, and he said he was already in talks with the matchmakers on turning me around quick, and yeah, getting back in there and being more active. I'm a big featherweight, so part of that is on me, and I'm definitely going to do my part in keeping my weight down so I can be more active. And yeah, we're looking to get back in there in November, December. I'm going on vacation here next week, but that's only for a week long. And then after that, I'll be back at, the end of August. And then September, I'm jumping right into fight camp. In my mind, comes September 1st, I'm in fight camp preparing for a fight, whether I got a contract signed or not. And yes, so I want to be, perfect world, I can fight early November, maybe get on that November 11th card in Madison Square Gardens with John Jones. That would be a dream come true. But yeah, September, October, that's 8 weeks. That's plenty of time for me to prepare, plenty of time for me to cut the weight. And yeah, I'm looking to get on in November and December for sure.
And I do have another activity question, but first I got to ask this one for you. I know you said vacation. Where are you going? Anywhere exciting?
Orlando, Florida.
All right. Disney?
Be some big kids for a week and go to Universal Studios and go to the water park down there and eat a bunch of food. I'm holding back. Normally, the moment I get back from a fight that next week, I'm smashing a bunch of food, but I've stayed on my diet. My weight's low. I'm still in the 160s, and I'm saving it for when we go on vacation next week.
Well, enjoy the vacation and eat up. You definitely deserve it there. But I do have another activity question that I wanted to ask you. Obviously, I hear this from fighters all the time. Everybody says, I want to be active. I want to be active. Obviously, could be a lot easier said than done. What are some of those keys to activity and being able to keep your body ready to go to get these multiple fights in a year?
Training smarter, not harder, as much as you train, you got to be on your recovery that much too. And just making sure I'm recovering the right way and just doing everything right to where I'm not overtraining and not having to, take time off to heal up little injuries here and there. Cause MMA is brutal, man. It's a brutal sport to constantly be getting better and to constantly stay sharp and on your game. You got to be training hard. You got to be grappling hard and sparring and, your teammates, you're beating each other up on the daily, in a way. So it's just making sure that you're training smart and making sure you're staying on top of your recovery and your diet and nutrition, I'm not the only one, tons of guys in MMA. It's a known thing that guys cut a lot of weight. So not letting my weight get too heavy, which I've done in the past, the first couple years when I was in the UFC, I could have been more active, but I just would need more time to make the weight. And, I'd get opportunities to fight on 3-4 weeks notice, and I'd just be too heavy and I wouldn't be able to do it. But yeah, I'm making sure that that's not an issue anymore. Staying on top of my weight, being more disciplined and training smarter, not harder.
And for you being over 6 feet tall, right? 6'2" in the featherweight division, you have the fantastic striking background. We talked about the evolution with the grappling department, how comfortable are there. This division, in all reality, not the deepest division. It's wide open for somebody to make a run. Do you think if you are able to be active here and get a few fights in a year and keep rounding out these wins, you really have all these tools to make a deep run in this division?
Oh, yeah, I know it, man. I have the utmost confidence in the world in that. I'm the dark horse of this division, I feel like few people recognize that already, but nowhere near the amount that will after these next few fights. After these next few fights, I feel like people are really gonna, have their eye on me. Not that even I'm not even worried about that, to be honest. I just, I know myself. I know what I'm capable of. I know where I stack up against these guys, and it's just up to me to stay focused. And like I said, doing everything in my power to be more active and get in there more and stay focused and perform the way I know I can in there, and everything will fall into place. I do that.
All right, man. I appreciate the time as always. It's been great chatting with you. I'm going to let you take off so you can start getting packed up and ready for this nice vacation you're going to be going on here. Just last thing before you head out for the day, social media so people know where to follow you at, management, sponsorships. If you have anybody you got to give shout outs to, all that good stuff, you get the last word today.
Social media, I'm really just on Instagram, really. STL Sniper 314. Shoot me a follow. I post on there pretty often. Everybody knows, I'm with Wolves Den. That's my one and only MMA gym. That's where I train. That's where I've been at going on close to 10 years now. Project Deliverance, my guy Matt Owen, Horsepower and Barbells. He's the one responsible from putting some muscle on me and making me not such a string bean anymore. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah, Wolves Den, Horsepower and Barbells, my management, Iridium Sports Agency, Jason House, the best in the world. And yeah, that's about it, brother.